Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and Quantum Healing expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet. Hello and welcome back to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad for another special episode. But before we get started, you told me not to forget to mention the girl looking at you through your truck. What's that all about?
Yeah, I was driving down the expressway yesterday and a funeral drove past me, and I was speaking to you on the phone actually about what we're going to do today. And as we did, one of the things I can see is people who have, basically dead people. And this young lady jumped out of the hearse into my truck. And so, Andrew, you got to experience the whole conversation of me talking to this person. And finally, we brought in a column of white light and she went home. I'm like, don't touch me. So I made her get outside the truck. So she's like outside of the truck at 60 miles an hour staring at me. The normal things we see and talk about here on the show.
Yeah, all I know is I'm like, what's going on? He's like, hold on a second. Don't touch me. She's looking at me through the window. I'm like, I don't want to hear any of this. This is frightening.
Yeah, it was 8 shades of messed up, that's for sure. But we have Lakota back. She's going to help answer some more questions. And I hope you're enjoying the show. And thank you so much for listening.
Yes, Lakota, we have talked a lot about your property on the mountain and how wonderful and magical and special it is. And does that property have a name?
I was going to call it White Buffalo Springs after Petition White Buffalo Calf Woman. But I then changed it to Blue Buffalo Springs because of the blue clouds always above it. And the land in itself, when you're driving through the mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains are called the Blue Ridge. And these are the oldest mountains on our planet. And so they carry all of the ancestor stories. And I thought about blue. Blue is where we reach up into the sky. The blue sky is always a welcome sight. And then I thought about how the land itself reaches up to the sky with her little mountain ridge right there. And the water's pouring out of that with the 7 springs. And I thought the water, goes to the ocean and turns the blue and the hues of Earth Mother to the whole galaxy beyond the beyond. It's this beautiful living planet that we live on. So Blue Buffalo Springs, honoring the Buffalo Nation people. And they are the red, yellow, black, and white, and all the ways we have homogenized on this continent in the beginning of all cultures coming together and beating hearts as one again, a whole.
Well, I love the farm, and I think it's something special, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Wes, I know you've talked about, mentioned white buffalo. Lakota, I've heard you mention white buffalo. What is the significance of white buffalo?
White buffalo calf women came to our people long ago, our Lakota people, and brought a message, 7 sacraments of ceremonies, to help a soul grow into further abundance of soul, further abundance of our contract here in this world. And the Buffalo Nation people are the red, yellow, black, and white buffaloes. And the white buffalo is what she turned into when she gifted the stone with the 7 sacrament symbols on it. And when she did that, she basically gave us the gift of not worshiping her, but to honor her teachings instead. And that God was who we were to worship. Creator above, creator within. And I totally believe in that way. I walked in that power. And White Buffalo Calf Woman has guided me throughout my life and has guided me in my visionary process when I'm ready to quit the dance, roll up my sleeping bag and walk out of there because it's too hot, I'm too thirsty, I'm dying. And she shows up at the tree and gives me a teaching. The tree that we dance to and from with our prayers without food or water. And so it's quite an amazing process to actually meet this elder and to know her story and to learn of her story. And it's a story among the Lakota people. And she brought in the 7 sacraments of awakenings. Aho.
Andrea, next season, I'm going to tell you about the first time White Buffalo Calf Woman showed herself to me. So you are going to have to wait. Andrea will hear about it today if she hasn't already.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. You mean listeners are going to have to wait until season 3 or episode 3?
Oh, season 3.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we got a ways to go.
Yeah, you got a minute.
All right. So next I want to ask more about the property. So Wes, you mentioned a sacred tree at one point.
Uh-huh. Yep. Well, she's got your medicine wheel, your sacred tree, your peace chamber, the sweat lodge area, and then, one night you went to bed and the next morning you woke up and there was a 7-tiered waterfall that was not there before, right?
Yes.
I mean, that was crazy. I don't know how that even happened. But yeah, so tell us about the sacred tree. What is that?
The sacred tree is where I have actually 2 sacred trees on this mountain. One that we dance to, and we do our fasting while we pray and dance. And the other is a cedar tree that I call the peace tree. And we put our prayer ties on that. And we pray for our world to come into harmony again, and people into harmony of their hearts and souls with God again, and to align themselves in the truth and the power of God's love. And the tree that we dance to, that we fast to, and we're dancing to and from in our fast and making our prayer ties and just listening to the drum of our own heartbeat as well as the drum with the songs. And this brings us to a higher level of consciousness because we're fasting and praying the whole time, and movement. Breath, matter, to movement makes things happen. And that tree stands rooted deep, 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 deep into Earth Mother. And she's a locust tree, which is one of the ancient trees. And these trees connect through their root structure all to each other, similar to a mushroom. And around the world, this message is connecting for world peace and love and joy and happiness for humanity again, and to take care of the children again and each other. That's all. Very simple.
See, Andrea, very simple. You just complicate things too much.
I know, right? I guess my mind's too active, right? I don't know. I'll use that excuse. All right. So I think earlier, Lakota, you had mentioned something about a sweat lodge. And for people that don't know what a sweat lodge is, I don't know. Wes, do you want to start by talking about your experience with the sweat lodge, and then maybe Lakota tell us a little bit more about what it is for people that don't understand?
Well, sure. The first sweat lodge I did, we were in Suffolk. I was still in the middle of the haunted house, if I remember right. Yeah, I was. And, Ty and I went there. And all I remember is being inside of that thing, and I could feel what was inside of me crawling and wanting out like it was shredding my insides. I was so freaking uncomfortable. It got so bad. I don't know how Lakota knew, but because it's pitch black in there, but she paused the lodge for a little bit. She paused the lodge for a little bit for us to take a break. And as they started to open the door, I just remember crawling underneath the flap and running over to the peace tree that was there on this property and just sobbing and crying and begging God to make it stop and take what's inside of me out. And, then Ty came. And he brought me some water, and he's like, "Are you all right, brother?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man. I'm just struggling. And, he just sat with me and let me be in my space. And, and I got myself together, and then we went back in the lodge to fix it, or not fix it, but, finish. And so I don't know exactly what the sweat lodge is, but it heals me every time I go in there, and it's extraordinary. So Lakota, why don't you share with us what that is?
It's really not so much about being a sweat lodge. That's just a term that it's called. Inipe. What it is, it's a womb to rebirth our souls. And the womb breathes with us, and we bring in the medicinals. We put them on the Stone Nation people that are cooked real hot, red hot. And those medicinals, we breathe in, and I pour the water on it. And in pouring that water, we breathe the first mist of creation, of Earth Mother and us and God, and all of life again in a good way. And we honor the mental, emotional, physical, to spiritual prayers in each direction of the cross of life. And we honor Earth Mother because we have to crawl in there like we're infants again. We have to sit down on the ground. We have to get close to each other in the dark where we don't see each other, but we feel each other. We have to listen to each other's prayers as each person prays out, loud or quietly, and they shake the rattle when they're done. And then the prayers keep on going all the way around to full circle. Everybody has prayed. Has everybody prayed? Yes. Then the door opens up, and the Lodge herself will breathe out as we breathe in some fresh, cold air. It's an amazing process of enlightenment of our souls, and it's one of the sacred, holy sacraments of White Buffalo Calf Woman. But people around the world have found this way, not just our people. Everybody has. Everybody has. You find saunas everywhere that way. And in the old days, this was the healing ceremony for arthritis. This was the healing ceremony for a woman who just gave birth and was hemorrhaging. This was a healing ceremony, mostly healing ceremonies. Today, I treat it as a church. It's a way for us, all our races and our different creeds, to pray together, get on bended knee to Earth Mother again, and crawl in and be family and birth ourselves new to all of creation and to Creator again as the one story of humanity, that we are the one people, not separate. Our hearts to beat as one again. I am born on May 28th. 528 is the frequency of the heart. Kind of exciting, isn't that, to hear? Aho.
And what does aho mean?
The end.
The end. Hey, it means kick rocks. All right.
I love that you were born on 528. That's amazing, Lakota. And I have to say, we've talked about so many things, right? The sweat lodge, the medicine wheel, the sacred tree, dragons. And I know Wes is getting ready to do an episode where he talks about his vision quest. And I don't want to give too much of the story away because that's going to be a main episode. But what can you tell us about vision quests?
That's where you're willing to go on a semi-fast and go sit by yourself, with yourself, surrounded by cornmeal. And you have your tobacco prayer ties ready to cut out daily. And you sit there and you pray, and you don't stop praying. And you're fasting, and you're awake. You try to stay awake the whole time if you can, and sleep a little bit and go into dream. But you sit with yourself, with God. No distractions. It's a powerful ceremony. And this mountain that I live on holds the places for this, for people to sit and pray in their peace and quiet and have no disturbance. Because before I got there, I used to bring them out to the mountains, and we had all kinds of disturbances, strange people coming and going, and a little bit fearful. Some people coming by and checking on me, checking on some strange dudes. And to the point where I had my hubby come with me, and then I had friends come with me because I was kind of concerned for all of our safety. I asked God back then, please gift us a place that's safe for these vision questers. Please, Creator, give us this. We need this. We need a place of sacredness again, that is only that sacred land. And that's what this mountain's all about. And she's a little bump, straight across to a little bit larger bump, and then a tower. She is the electrocardiogram of the human heartbeat when you look from the road up to her. And the sun comes up. In my vision, I couldn't tell if it's coming up or going down, but she comes up East Gate every single morning and shines brightly, brightly, brightly upon me and all my animals and my prayer places and my holy spots of enlightenment. Aho.
Well, we are, by the time you listen to this, you'll have already heard my story of my vision quest. So I wanted to ask, because I didn't know, the first night up there, my sacred my sacred fire that I got to have was one of those little tiny fucking 7-day candles that couldn't light up a toilet area. So in the middle of the woods, listening to things being killed in the middle of the night was a little, it was a lot. And she made me give up my firearm when I went up there too. So, but the first night I had not finished doing my prayer ties, and these little fireflies were coming in and trying to put out the candles. So I didn't understand that, but what I really didn't understand is when I finished my prayer ties and I tied the 2 strings together, it was like touching an electric fence. And then there was this energy field that was around me, protecting me. When you came up that next day, the one dog would not come into the little camp area, and you could see the dog looking up at something that we couldn't see, but I knew the energy field is what she was seeing. How do you explain that?
That's the power of our prayers when we pray sincerely. We make a field, and it's a field of the frequency of God, and nothing can penetrate that. And not even our own lights, dimming as they are, candles that they are, what we think we have to have as light is necessary. Light just becomes us. We become the field itself when we pray in our sincere prayer. One sincere prayer. And this is a teaching from Archie Fire Lame Deer that taught me at the prayer vigil. One sincere prayer, Lakota, has the same power as the atom bomb. How powerful we are. We must embrace this truth and this power again on this planet and be the enlightenment for all the other galaxies and all the other beings. Aho.
Well, thank you. And I think that's the last of our questions today, right?
Yes, for today.
For today. So stay tuned. We've got lots of cool things coming up. And season 2, I think, is going to be fantastic. It's turning out to be really fun.
I mean, we're only just begun, and it's amazing so far. So many special things coming your way. I mean, we've already given them a sneak peek into season 3, so.
Exactly. So thank you. We'll see you next time, and we appreciate you tuning into the show.
Doksha Kea. Later again.
You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.